Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Friday, April 19th, 2024. We're headed to Spain to celebrate Carnival. It's a family-friendly event, complete with parades and floats and incredible costumes. In Austin, Texas, we get a first-hand look at what people saw in the path of totality during the solar eclipse earlier this month. And we're learning more about the consciousness of water. Find out how you can do your own experiments that prove communication really is possible. Heavy rainfall in the United Arab Emirates is causing all sorts of problems for the infrastructure and the people. And in Paris, France, migrant camps are being evacuated ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympics.
This is Calen, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. The Fuerteventura Carnival is a vibrant celebration that embodies the spirit and culture of the Canary Islands. This annual event is known for its lively parades, colorful costumes, and joyous music. UNN field messenger Emma captures the excitement of the event.
Hi, this is Emma, UNN Field Messenger, reporting from the Carnival in Fuerteventura, Coralejo. I'm going to film the parade and show you how much fun we're having. Coralejo Carnival 2024. Every year in the month of March, Fuerteventura celebrates life with a carnival. The carnival lasts for 10 days. And the theme this year was movies or movie characters. The carnival is absolutely a family celebration with lots of activities for families and especially for children. The schools are involved, and children have about 2 days of carnival holiday to engage in different activities like workshop, parades, music, song and dance, and other activities. Lots of fun. They built a carnival arena with a huge stage where all the shows are held. This area is open for everybody, free of charge. There's a program every day with different activities. One of the first days of the carnival, they have a drawing on stage in the carnival area where they choose the starting order of the different queens in the parade. The queens are very important in the carnival. Each night there is entertainment with dancer, artists, music groups, street bands, mainly from Fuerteventura, but also from the other Canary Islands. And believe it or not, some have already started planning for the carnival in 2025, because this is a very important tradition here in Fuerteventura and Spain in general. Thank you for watching.
Last week, the moon played a captivating game of hide-and-seek with the sun, presenting us with the opportunity to observe a spectacular solar eclipse. UNN field messengers Kimberly and Todd share their experience of witnessing this exceptional event.
Hey everybody, this is Kimberly, United Network field messenger here in Austin, Texas. Here are my eclipse clips that we saw today. Enjoy, thanks.
Hey everyone, yes, the eclipse, my goodness, with the fanfare from all of our family, and everyone was geared up to watch it, and last minute we got our glasses and got to see it. We were joyfully outside here looking right up towards the sun and just sitting in peace and joy along with my neighbor who sits normally over there. And it was just wonderful to begin our day with love and peace and a clear conscience, and pursuing to a wonderful lunch right before. And we just could hear all of the joy and excited, I would say, noises that we were hearing just as totality happened here in Austin on Hudson Bend. So it was just a lot of happiness from all of our family and friends peppered around. A few of them were bummed because with the clouds that came in, they did cover it, but they got to see a spell of it and be a part of it, which they were happy to do. All the boats that are all in position, it's about 90%, and it's getting close.
Almost. There it goes. Look at that. That's crazy looking, isn't it? Wow, this is cool.
Did you hear everybody screaming and enjoying, and we're all celebrating? Yay!
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Water is very important here on Earth. It helps sustain life. But did you know it can support consciousness as well? A few weeks ago, we introduced you to Veda Austin. She is a water researcher who's dedicated the last 10 years observing and photographing the life of water. Veda shared with us some of her results, and today we're going to learn how we can conduct these experiments as well. Okay, so Veda is back with us again today, and the last time, Veda, we talked a little bit about how you got into testing the consciousness of water, how you got into it, and what made you really interested. But today I would like to take it one step further for those of us that are real excited to get our hands wet, literally maybe, and figure this out for ourselves. Can you tell us the process of how you test the water? Like, what do you use? How long do you wait? All of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. It's actually super easy and really fun. So you might have heard in my last talk that I froze water completely. Now, I haven't done that in 9 years because I discovered something very interesting about when water freezes and how water freezes. So water freezes in 3 stages. There's the first stage, which is where I take the water out now. That is where there's liquid on top and ice underneath, and it takes approximately 5 minutes. Now, each person's freezer setting is different. Different freezers freeze at different times, but that's your kind of starting place. So you're wanting to see water on top and ice underneath. So I was curious to find out, when is the water freezing? So I started to open my freezer earlier and earlier to see what was happening, and that's how I discovered my technique. Now, the second freeze is where there's it's like an ice sandwich. There's 2 layers of ice with water in the middle, and then there is a solid. Now, what you're wanting to do is get a glass petri dish. So I like to use glass because glass is made of silica. Silica is a type of crystal, and crystals store information. They're in all our technology. So it's the glass petri dish that actually helps the water to store information for longer. When you use plastic, I just don't get the same results. So you don't need, if you want to start immediately, you actually don't need to have a glass petri dish, although I do recommend getting one. You can use a glass baking tray, like a Pyrex baking tray, or you can use a cup with a flat glass bottom. So the amount of water you put in is going to vary depending on size. So if you imagine that I have my glass petri dish and you only put 2 tablespoons of water in a 10 centimeter diameter glass petri dish. So just covering the bottom layer of the bottom of the dish. So when you tip it slightly, it should be 3/4 empty and 1/4 pooling, and that is the ratio for any unit that you're using. 3/4 empty and 1/4 pooling when you slightly tip it. So it's just a very fine layer of water that is on the bottom of your dish. Then what you're going to do is inspire the water in any way that you want. In the very early stages, I recommend to everybody that they simply be the observer. They don't go into doing this assuming that water is going to give them some beautiful face or this or something, or just, I think it's important to get to know the organic patterns of your water first. If you don't know them, you're not going to know how it's changed. But lots of people just launch into it. So it's up to you what you want to do. But this is a relationship-based work. And there's a lot more depth than I can explain in a short talk here. So the next step is that you will put it into your freezer. Now, I like to put it on my top shelf. I like the shelf to be empty. Does it matter if there's things in the freezer? 99% of the time, no, it doesn't. Every now and then, water will pick up on something in your freezer. But that's fun too. Do I cover the petri dish with the lid? No, I don't, for 2 reasons. The first reason is that when you are learning, a frost will freeze on the top of that lid and you can't see where the water's at. So it's helpful. The second one is simply not practical whatsoever. I get claustrophobic. I don't like the idea of being covered over, so I'm projecting. Once you see that there's liquid on top and crystallography forming, then you take it out, you tip the liquid away, and you photograph the remaining crystallography that's stuck to your dish immediately. You do need to wipe the back before you take photos because it would have formed some frost, and you immediately start taking a backed out photo of the entire dish and then zoom in on anything you find interesting and look through the photos later. Because this is not in a cold lab, you are going to find that the ice melts very quickly, so you need to do it fast. And that's it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Does it matter what kind of water we use?
The only water I would recommend not using is distilled water. I think it's the salts and minerals that help the water to store information. I think of distilled water more like an observer, but spring water or seawater, for example, is a lot more like someone who can store memories but also observe at the same time. That's very deep to that question, but each water also has its own signature pattern. So you will see one of 3 things when you do this: a signature pattern of water, an artistic expression, or hydroglyphs. And hydroglyphs are symbols in ice that I need to have repeated at least 50 times to say I have one using a word influence. So we're literally able to start to read messages in water.
A global nonprofit called Water.org is on a mission to ensure safe water and sanitation for families worldwide. Research shows 1 in 4 people in the world still do not have access to clean drinking water. Using small, affordable microloans averaging $300 to $400, the organization helps families secure a loan and install indoor plumbing and running water in their homes. The unique part of this program is every repaid loan is reinvested and benefits more than one family, paving the way for others to access essential water and sanitation too. This pay-it-forward approach has already transformed the lives of more than 63 million people in 11 different countries. Access to clean water means healthier families, better education, and more economic opportunities. Through partnerships with local and regional banks, foundations, and individuals, they continue to empower communities worldwide. Have you ever stopped and wondered what's in soil? Well, it's more than just rock dust. It's a living, breathing ecosystem beneath our feet, teeming with life, from earthworms to microscopic organisms. It's a complex mixture of weathered rock particles along with organic matter, crucial for water retention, plant growth, and minimizing erosion. The soil's biodiversity plays a critical role in decomposing organic material, thus recycling nutrients essential for plant growth. Studying soil reveals its vital role in sustaining food, forests, flowers, and ground-dwelling animals. By taking a small spoonful of soil from your backyard, you'd likely find at least 10,000 species and about 1 billion living microscopic cells. Scientists have identified over 20,000 unique soil types. Understanding and caring for our soil is an essential step forward for sustainable food production and environmental conservation. Progress is being made in Egypt as a result of their national reforestation program. New forests are being established and irrigated with wastewater from nearby urban centers. Under this initiative, a total of 2,500 square miles are being planted at different locations throughout the country, which is 96% desert. The treated wastewater provides the heat-tolerant trees with a natural source of fertilizer. The nutrients found in the water effectively supercharge the forest, making it grow quickly and efficiently. Research shows the deserts are expanding and trees can help slow down this process. Trees can stop erosion of the soil, provide shade, and make a good habitat for animals and other plants. Egyptian residents have been pleased to see their deserts turning green with life. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada, Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. Severe flooding has hit the United Arab Emirates, overwhelming drainage systems and causing extensive disruptions across neighborhoods, business districts, and major highways. The country, known for its arid desert climate, experienced heavy rainfall exceeding the annual average within 24 hours. Dubai International Airport faced significant challenges, with runways remaining operational despite flooded taxiways, leading to dramatic scenes of waterlogged landings. Emirates Airlines was forced to temporarily halt departures, resulting in massive delays and thousands of stranded passengers. Residents face significant challenges, with many unable to leave their homes or requiring emergency assistance to secure basic necessities. The storm, predicted by forecasters, has also impacted neighboring Oman, raising the death toll from resulting floods to 21. In North Sulawesi, Indonesia, hundreds have been evacuated following the violent eruption of the Ruang volcano. The eruption, which projected ash, lava, and rocks miles into the air, prompted the highest alert level due to ongoing volcanic activity. Videos captured the dramatic scenes, including purple lightning flashes above the volcano. Evacuation zones have expanded as the volcano's activity escalates, impacting more than 800 residents so far, with the potential to affect nearly 12,000 more. The provincial capital's airport has been closed, and flights across East Malaysia and Brunei are canceled, complicating evacuations and aid efforts. Homes and a hospital near the volcano have suffered damage, prompting urgent relocations. Officials warn of the continued high risk of eruption and a possible tsunami, echoing the tragedies of past eruptions. China's stock and Hong Kong exchanges have announced plans to limit real-time trading data disclosures, signaling tighter information controls for investors. This change, slated to take effect roughly a month after April 12th, limits the availability of real-time data for fund managers and investors, fundamentally affecting their ability to make informed decisions. The restrictions are part of broader efforts to align with international standards, but they have drawn criticism for potentially reducing market transparency and fairness. Critics argue this could deter both foreign and local investors, affecting the attractiveness of China's markets for investment. Despite these changes, offshore investors showed a net purchase of stocks immediately after the announcement, suggesting a mixed initial reaction. However, there are still concerns about fundamental issues, such as the deflating housing market and high local government debt. Nestle is under fire for allegedly adding sugar to its baby food products in developing countries, including India, but not in Europe or the UK. The recent study found Nestle's Cerelac products in India contain nearly 3 grams of added sugar per serving. The disclosure has sparked concern amongst parents and health advocates over the potential impact on infant health and nutrition, raising questions about food safety standards and the trustworthiness of global food brands. Nestle India insists its products comply with international and local standards, highlighting efforts to reduce added sugars in its infant cereals during the past 5 years. French authorities have evacuated a large migrant camp in a suburb of Paris ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympics. The camp, situated on abandoned bus company premises, housed approximately 450 migrants, including young men and some mothers with children. These individuals, many possessing legal documents, have been awaiting social housing assignments. Humanitarian groups voiced concerns the eviction could leave the migrants without stable housing. The camp, described as France's largest, expanded significantly during the past year due to earlier clearances near the Olympic Village. Concerns have also been raised about the impact of these evictions on the education and well-being of the children involved. Renters in England are facing a crisis, losing more than £500 million annually due to unwanted home moves. These unwanted relocations, often initiated by landlords through no-fault evictions or rent hikes, have forced 830,000 tenants to move in the past year. Many find themselves in a never-ending cycle of displacement, with expenses for moving, including rent on new and old properties, removal services, and storage fees. Critics argue the current rental system's instability requires governmental intervention for reforms that protect renters from unnecessary and costly moves. The government's hesitance to implement a renters reform bill, including the abolishment of Section 21 evictions, has been met with frustration amongst tenants and housing advocates calling for lasting change. Hundreds of border force officers at Heathrow Airport in the UK are set to strike from April 29th to May 2nd. They want changes to their working conditions. The strike comes in response to new roster plans the Public and Commercial Services Union says will result in job losses for around 250 passport control staff. These changes are especially challenging for employees with disabilities or caregiving responsibilities, sparking concerns over the loss of experienced staff. Although previous strikes were suspended in the hope of resolution talks, the union has resumed industrial action. The Home Office expressed disappointment at this decision, but is open to discussion. It argues the new system aligns Heathrow staff with other ports, offering better work patterns and improving public service. The European Union has launched a new initiative to support individuals with disabilities by offering easier travel across member states through a unified disability card. This card, replacing national versions, grants holders access to a variety of benefits, such as discounts on local transport, assistance on public transport, reduced or complimentary entry fees, and priority access in other EU countries. It also provides for accompanying care personnel or animals, with the option to indicate the need for additional assistance on the card. The card's introduction has been met with positive feedback from users who appreciate the recognition and support it offers when traveling. Advocacy groups are calling for further integration of services and benefits to reduce confusion and stress for cardholders. In the U.S., the aging ambulance fleet is causing concern amongst emergency medical technicians, or EMTs, and residents alike. EMTs are facing increased challenges as vehicles break down more frequently, forcing crews to transfer their life-saving equipment from one ambulance to another, wasting precious time. The root of the problem lies in a nationwide shortage of ambulance frames, worsened by automakers like Ford and General Motors, allocating these crucial components to more profitable consumer trucks since the pandemic began. This shortage has led to delays in acquiring new ambulances, with waits extending up to 2 years. This situation affects the emergency responders' ability to provide timely care and undermines public safety and trust in the emergency medical system. A recent study reveals while most fruits and vegetables consumed in the U.S. have low pesticide levels, 20% of them pose significant risks due to high pesticide concentrations. The report shows high levels of pesticides in popular foods, such as bell peppers, blueberries, green beans, potatoes, and strawberries. Domestic bell peppers, blueberries, and potatoes have especially high levels. Imported produce, including blueberries and strawberries, also raised alarms. Health experts warn long-term exposure to these chemicals can lead to symptoms such as fatigue, irritability, depression, and memory issues. The report advises the public to consider organic options, especially for the products most affected by pesticides, to mitigate health risks. Despite this, the Food and Drug Administration assures the majority of both domestic and imported produce meets federal safety standards. In the aftermath of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, commonly known as the BP oil spill, many workers and residents continue to face significant health challenges. Despite seeking medical help and even hospitalization, many are faced with the challenge of proving their illnesses are directly caused by exposure to oil and other things used in the cleanup. Legal battles have been proven difficult, with courts often siding with the oil company, citing the need for more concrete evidence of exposure levels. This stringent standard for proof has made it challenging for affected workers to win their cases, resulting in a lack of compensation for their healthcare costs. Experts argue the legal requirements for proving exposure are excessively strict and may prevent those affected from getting justice. Appeals are ongoing in higher courts with hopes of a resolution that acknowledges the health impacts suffered by these workers. In Ecuador, indigenous communities face significant risks due to unremoved explosive devices left by oil companies in the Amazon. The presence of these explosives, a remnant of past oil exploration activities, has instilled fear amongst the locals, disrupting their traditional way of life, including hunting, fishing, and performing ceremonies in the affected areas. Despite a national referendum voting against oil exploration in the Yasuni National Park, operations continue. The issue highlights a broader conflict between economic interests in the oil industry and the indigenous rights, with critics arguing the government prioritizes oil revenue over environmental preservation and the well-being of its people. Recently, a constitutional court demanded the government take action on removing the explosives and consult with indigenous communities on oil projects, emphasizing the state's repeated failures to meet its obligations. Also in Ecuador, a severe drought attributed to the El Niño weather phenomenon has forced the government to initiate electricity rationing in major cities, severely affecting daily life and local businesses. The diminished rainfall has depleted reservoirs, drastically reducing output from hydroelectric plants that provide approximately 3/4 of the country's power. Residents are urged to reduce power consumption, facing scheduled power outages lasting 3 hours. The situation has unintentionally benefited some businesses, like candle shops, which have seen increased sales during the blackouts. The government promises to subsidize April's electricity bills, appealing for a collective effort to mitigate the crisis's impact on everyday life. Neighboring Colombia has also experienced water rationing as reservoir levels plummet, impacting local water supplies. In Ivory Coast's capital, a large-scale demolition campaign targeting underdeveloped areas has displaced thousands of people since late January. The city is citing public health concerns and the risks of deadly floods as the reason for these changes. These impoverished neighborhoods, home to a significant portion of the city's rapidly growing population, have faced demolitions without prior notice or compensation, leaving many homeless. Local authorities argue the initiative aims to relocate families to safer areas and improve living conditions, promising compensation and housing support. However, the affected communities, including nearly 2,000 school children, have been left to deal with the aftermath of lost homes and dispersed families. The government is offering compensation, but critics argue it is insufficient against the backdrop of rising housing costs. In Lagos, Nigeria, access to the city's beaches has become a luxury most citizens cannot afford. Despite being located on the Atlantic Ocean shoreline and experiencing intense tropical heat, residents of Lagos find themselves barred from free access to beaches. This situation started as private developers took over the stretches of the coastline, imposing entry fees beyond the reach of many in the nation, already burdened by economic hardship. Public beaches, once a staple of Lagos life, are now largely privatized, claiming to offer cleaner and more secure environments, but at a cost that excludes the majority of people. The privatization reflects a broader trend in Lagos, where public services are commercialized, leaving the less affluent at a disadvantage. The government claims the move toward privatization aims to maintain international standards. Yet this has sparked debates about accessibility for the city's residents.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth. Plus, original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. Mass panic has ensued as deep state operatives and loyalists are on the run from the cartels. We may see the end of the deep state within the next 72 hours. As we near the end of the equinox time tomorrow, the deep state expects visitors. And the end of the parasitic AI programs used to control humans is over, causing slight energetic disturbances over the last few days. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yeah, I'm excited about what we just talked about in that little tease there. There's lots of potential good news there.
There is. There's a lot of potential good news, and not to say that it's not chaotic out there, because it really is right now. You know, there was a conference call that took place not last night, the night before, in which they tried to tell them that there was progress made on their side. That
Wait,
they're getting there.
Can we define who they are? Sorry, Kim. Can we define?
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. I've been doing this all day, so I apologize. Okay. So the remaining deep state loyalists. So this is your global headquarter people, the SSP operatives that are with them, the black nobility and the silent circle, those that are hoping for a miracle to happen in the next coming days. They tried to tell the cartels that they had been making progress on their end, and that there is, just give them another couple days, they'll make it through, you know, they're going to finish this off and they'll be able to pay everybody and things will return back to normal. This is what they told them. The call really didn't go very well because the cartels, you know, they're a different kind of you know, when you see the deep state a lot, I talk about even that I feel like the SSP is like Duck Dynasty. They're kind of like cowboys, you know, they're all over the place with no clear direction.
Yeah.
And most of the military sector and the agency sector of the deep state, everywhere worldwide, they are also quite loud, and they have these certain techniques that they do when they know they're in trouble. So they'll start yelling at you, they'll start threatening you. If you're a female, they'll start flirting with you. Like, it's this whole sequence of events that they're trained to do when they're in trouble. And matter of fact, at some points in time, I talk about the people that I knew when I first came here, and people that I have met over the phone. If you've been around a long time, you remember me talking about George the Viking and talking to George the Viking. And both of those people were attempted handlers of mine. And when I called them out and they were in trouble, they both said the exact same sentence to the letter to me. You could not make this up if you wanted to. And so the deep state for me is very predictable. Like, I've gone through enough of them now where I know exactly what they're going to do, what they're going to say. If I call them out, this is what they're going to do. If I handle them this way. So it's more like the once attempted to be handled person, meaning me, became the then handler on the other side on behalf of the light.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy. They're very easy and they're very predictable, but they're also, you know the button to push when you want an explosion.
Yeah.
You know the button to push when you want them to calm down. Like, you know exactly the same words. They work with everybody across the board. Like, you say the same sentence. Like, now I have this little handbook. Oh, okay, we need a 101 combined with a number 32. I feel like I'm ordering a cheeseburger or something at Burger Barn.
Yeah.
But it's true. And this is how you manage. If you're me, you manage to stay alive. You manage to keep yourself out of trouble while still getting the information that you want in order to go against your enemy. Now, as for the cartels, they never show their cards. They don't lose their cool. You never know what they're thinking if you're trying to read, for example, their body language. If you're trying to read, unless you're trying to read their mind.
Yeah.
But they too, like I said, have participated in a lot of stuff, and they too have had a lot of business dealings with the deep state over the years. This is not a surprise. And so in this conversation, you hear the deep state and operatives, and they're talking about things that could potentially happen and how they're showing signs and indications with possible reports that probably mean nothing in the grand scheme of anything. And there was zero answer to them trying to buy time. Not a word was spoken on the other side. I listened to this call. Not a nod, not a smile, nothing.
This was a video call of sorts so they could see each other, Kim?
It's a different kind of secure line, but okay. Yes, it's not like a Zoom.
Yeah, of course.
And no answer whatsoever was given. Therefore, everybody else, deep state being deep state, that means that they had time in their mind. They had bought time.
It's so dangerous when they just assume stuff. You know what I mean?
You know what happens when you assume. You break down that word and you make something out of you and me, don't you?
Yes, you do.
So after that call, they continued to act in such a way as if they were expecting something to happen in their favor still.
Okay.
Now, Wednesday evening, after the news, at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, they were expecting a system to start working. So they were all in different locations around the world, and they were expecting something to light up, like a sphere of some sort. And this would have indicated that there was a flip of power in their favor, and they have regained control over some kind of a quantum system. This is what they were hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't happen. The buying time call, happened. Then this event happened, and now they're in full-on panic. But is there any truth to what they were waiting for? Now, if you were reading old books of knowledge, not wisdom, there was.
Mm-hmm.
We had someone come to visit us every 7 years, and that someone was Anu. Now, he hasn't come since the beginning of 2016, but they were expecting that this year, for some reason, their calculations and my calculations are a year off. They believed he last visited in 2017. The last time I saw an entry from this being before its disappearance from the multiverse was back in March of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's right? I don't know. I can only tell you what I saw myself and witnessed myself. Maybe I had an impromptu visit and he was supposed to come the following year. I'm not sure. But at any rate, they were expecting him to come back for his normal once every 7 year visit. And that year and that time would be now. Now, you see, when Anna would visit, he would always visit during the time of the equinox. And during the time of the equinox, it begins 30 days before the spring equinox or fall equinox, depending on which one we're in, and it continues for 30 days after.
Mm-hmm.
So time is officially up by Sunday,
Okay.
the 21st, because the equinox this year was on the 20th, 31 days in March. So was there some truth to the possibility of this happening? If you don't know and you're only reading old text, then, yes, in your mind, yes, in their mind, yes. In my mind, I know I sat in a council meeting in 2019 where the Universal Council actually told me in July of 2019 that this guy was no longer with us in any dimension, any density, any place, anywhere, at all. But there were preparations that would normally take place expecting this being's arrival. Now, this year, they believed, and I'm just going to tell you, because what they believe becomes our reality. Their perception is our reality. And the things they do to us actually become our reality during these times. So, over in Macau is China, technically, there was a facility to where it would manufacture what I call meat suits. Some of you might call them clones, avatars, bodies, physical bodies that could tolerate the atmosphere on Earth, that could breathe the air that we breathe, but that would contain a soul from another location. Now, there were special meat suits, as I call them, made for the Red Queen, made for Marduk, made for Enki and Enlil, and also the Abraxas, and surprise, surprise, Anti-Source as well.
Wow.
As the 6 owners of Earth, as we talked about in the past, underneath the old agreements that have now expired.
Mm-hmm.
So they would come together every 7 years, go to this location under Macau, pull out a meat suit for themselves, and walk around planet Earth for a while. How long did they stay? Well, typically until the others meeting would begin, which is usually sometime in June. It has nothing to do with the solstice. It just has to do with new moons and full moons prior to the harvest moon, as we talk about each year as the meetings start. Due to their arrival, they would have a meeting amongst themselves during solstice time. Equinox time, spring equinox to be specific. And the last time I saw Anu was in March 31st of 2016. So that's how I know that. Mm-hmm. And during this meeting, they would formulate the plan for the next 7 years, and eventually instructions would trickle down through the ranks to the parents, the covens, the coven masters, and eventually what we have left as the deep state. So that would be your SSP, your global headquarters, black nobility. So, in addition to these instructions, they would also, I should say, not we, because I was never a part of them, they would also receive money to carry out these orders and instructions for the next 7 years. Mm-hmm. Now, instructions can not only come from these people, they would also come from the angels and the fallen angels and all the Council of Nine. And so there was a lot of things that were set up, and then it would trickle down to the humans to whatever they wanted to happen here on Earth. The next thing that would normally happen during an equinox period had to do with balance during a dark age. Now, this hadn't happened since the time it was agreed upon, but it's kind of like one of those things, create the problem and be the solution in this case. So during the time of a dark age, we were still supposed to have certain periods of time of the year where the light was able to thrive without the interference of the dark ones specifically on planet Earth. So that time was to start at the spring equinox, or what the others here refer to as New Year's Day, and it would continue on through September. And this started about 16,000, 17,000, 16,500 years ago is when this was agreed upon. But measures were put in place so they could say, oh, the light didn't choose to take their spot. You know, or, oh, I guess they don't want to do this during this time of year. So there were countermeasures that were put in place to ensure that that never happened. Placed here by Marduk, Enki, Enlil, and the Red Queen, and in agreement with Anti-Source, to ensure that basically we had no choice.
Yeah.
It's like saying, like throwing us, you know, with a chain and a giant cement block into the bottom of the ocean and saying, well, they didn't breathe down there, did they? You know, it doesn't make any sense. But nonetheless, everybody operated in the gray areas of all covenants. You know, they would make sure they didn't go too far as to break them, but yet just far enough to there where they can say, oh, look at that. There's Sunny down there at the bottom of the ocean. She didn't breathe. So we'll just take over from here. We'll just, I guess, run it as well. No one showed up.
So, Kim, what could that look like on a more practical level? Is it allowing humans, or how could that facilitate or happen here on Earth? Like, I know it didn't happen. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, well, if they were to do something, because we're still in a dark age, right? Yeah. So what could that have looked like for humanity if they followed the rules?
We would look at it almost as a ceasefire, like you would look at a ceasefire in a war.
Okay.
There would be less harm and manipulation on humanity. They would not have wars or create wars during this time. They would essentially not intentionally cause harm to the light side or the organic humans that live here. So it was not like they'd immediately pull all the toxic chemicals and pharmaceuticals and everything off the shelves or anything like that, and everything would be wonderful, but it would be less painful, let's put it that way, for those of us that live here during that time. So you could call it a ceasefire, a break. You know, it's kind of like, if, you know, we call it Stockholm syndrome. You know, if you're kidnapped and, you know, for these days, so to speak, your kidnapper doesn't beat you. So you're still in a hole, you're still in the basement, you're still being fed bread and beans or whatever, but you're not getting beaten on the daily. It's like mercy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mercy on our side. But we never did actually receive that. They used all these loopholes to not allow that to happen. Now, because of not allowing that to happen, the deep state was expecting this mechanism to kick in so they could buy themselves more dark time. Now, did a few things, how do I say it, get triggered? Yes. We saw significant increases, for example, in the Schumann resonance, which is a dark resonance on the planet, due to some things that remained in 0-point Earth, hidden in pockets of time for this time. So sometimes when they're hidden between planes of existence, you don't see it until it goes live. We pick up a frequency then from there. So there were a few things that did happen, which allowed us to find a number of other things which worked out. So, but did it yield the result they were hoping for? Absolutely not. They were actually hoping for a full quantum flip, which would have then resulted in the Omega system taking over the Alpha system, is what they thought. More control and ownership over the halls in between planes, such as the halls of Amente, the halls of human manipulation, genetics, science. There were lots of halls, not just the halls of records, in between all. So this is what they were hoping was going to happen. And I don't know what book they're reading or who wrote said book, but they were hoping, I guess, for the return of these folks to come here for their annual or their once every 7-year meeting, I assume. And perhaps there was something they could get from them for that. I don't know.
Yeah.
If royalty is arriving in a location, you often see things like the red carpet being rolled out, or, there's flowers, or the horsemen's guards come, whatever it is in specific countries. It's different everywhere, but they all have these ceremonial things that happen. So in this case, one of the things that would happen is you would obviously have an increase in lower frequencies on the planet so that they could tolerate being here. Higher frequencies are intolerable to these beings. So I could see them trying to continue the war, talk about threats, spreading fear, the banking system's going to crash, so on and so forth, in order to lower the frequency of everyone, to allow these beings to be here. So this is part of the ceremony. In some countries, they throw flower petals on the ground. In our world, on Earth here, when you're welcoming demon-like entities, you lower the frequency of the planet. Yeah. And this is what the deep state had been trying to do now for the last couple of weeks in hopes that they still would arrive. Yeah. The time that they were supposed to arrive has passed, because they normally would have come within 10 days of the equinox and then had their meetings for about a couple of weeks after that, and then the orders, instructions, and big money would come out. Now, how in the world did any of this equate to a quantum flip? Maybe they thought powerful aliens on their side would help them. I'm not sure. But no such thing took place. We have already pretty much transitioned into past that point of the light balance sector. Officially, we passed through it on Sunday. And then we can get rid of it forever. So there's a covenant that was associated with that, that obviously nobody followed. So it's about 16,000 years old. So once we pass that day, then we can get rid of that covenant and we'll remain here forever anyway. But go ahead.
You mean this Sunday? This Sunday is when?
It's coming Sunday, yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were talking about this Sunday or last Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, no. It's this Sunday. Okay. Because will officially be 30 days past the time of the equinox, 30 days after. So then we'll get rid of the covenant permanently. We'll put in a new permanent agreement, and this will never happen again. But sometimes when it's a covenant, you have to wait. Yeah. Because it's source, anti-source, or whoever they made the agreement with, or could have been both in this case. So on that day, that will expire. And we won't be doing this potential for every year of trying to maintain balance anymore. It's not an age. It's not a timeline. It's simply a reprieve or a ceasefire that happens during that time. So that's the disappointed deep state. Now, as of this morning, they apparently were expecting something. I'm not sure what that something is, but by 3 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if that's money, a quantum flip. Who knows with these people? I don't even know what's written in those books. I have no idea who wove that tapestry of lies for those people. I don't know. And I don't know where they got the idea of a quantum flip. I don't know where they got the idea of progress in any way, shape, or form. But like I said on Wednesday, I thought that they were going to lie anyway to the cartels. Right. They never tell the truth to even each other, let alone someone from what they consider to be outside their group. So true to form, they did lie. Now, as of this morning, everyone is in a full-on panic because whatever they were expecting did not happen. And so now we have a mad rush for tourists in Durango, Colorado, and other places like it around. Yeah, and I don't know who they're letting in and who they're not.
For safety purposes, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because some of these people are just simply in their downline. You know, they did the political manipulation, as an example, for them recently since they were approached. They continued on with potentially hacking computers or trying to find something or trying to cause destruction or crash a financial system or something like that. So because they did play a part in that, they are also scared. They don't really know anything about aliens or anything. They're just, so we're seeing a lot of those people now start to run around in fear. There still are some people within militaries, GCHQ and the Pentagon, that are still forever hopeful that something is going to happen. Do they know what something is? I'm not sure. Are they rolling out red carpets in their way for aliens' arrivals in a meeting? I don't know. You know, I haven't seen, other than fear and lowering the frequency of the planet or making an attempt to. It's pretty much all I've seen. Other things that were cause for full-on panic in the last 48 hours were a significant amount of sovereign bonds and sovereign guarantees that were issued to the Chinese government and the AIIB Bank in Hong Kong. For those of you that don't know, it's the Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank. This was supposed to be the hub and the headquarters for the currency for all of Asia, one of the 7, as we have discussed before. And it would be called the Asia. It was supposed to be the center for that. And it was also the financial hub for the deep state of China and their attempt to control the world and to become the world's next superpower. Now, these sovereign guarantees and bonds were issued in RMB, or Chinese yuan, which is the currency of China. So therefore, there was a significant amount of bonds or debts in the good faith of the AIIB or the Chinese government that were issued out as collateral for other things they were doing within the countries. So much so throughout the African continent, and even in part the United States, and definitely in Canada, that the bonds, remember, bonds, or what we consider to be debt instruments, are actually assets to a bank, including a central bank or a treasury. Now, on the 17th, so moreover the 18th in China's time, 17th is the ones that I've seen at midnight, those bonds expired. So let me tell you the political play here, the financial play, so you understand what this means in the world. So if an RMB or Chinese yuan bond is issued to, for example, the country of Russia, they could then issue rubles against that asset. Therefore, the RMB bond becomes the backing for the Russian currency, the ruble, an asset on their books, which gives them the right then to issue the new allocations, because oftentimes these bonds came together with a project or an oil allocation purchase, or it could be, a natural gas purchase. This is when you're talking about the Russian Federation and China's business dealings. It could be in weapons exchange. It could be for anything at the time that they started issuing these. Now, they started issuing these over I would say about a decade ago, maybe even a little longer. Well, probably close to 20 years in some cases. Now, they issued these to build, for example, airports in Mozambique. They would issue the bond. They would issue the Metical, which is their currency, against those bonds, and then they would build an airport there. So they were given lines of credit to purchase things all over the world. And they also issued them to the United States government as alleged backing for the dollar or for infrastructure here. Now, this is the base route on how I call it the Chinese invasion of America. So this is how they bought up all that real estate here, all these big businesses here. They didn't do it with actual cash. They did it with RMB bonds, to which then the U.S. government issued U.S. dollars against, at least in part, with what I call a haircut. That is the industry term for the fact that if they issued a U.S. dollar value in RMB or Chinese currency, for example, for 100 million, they would give it a haircut, meaning they would only provide them with, say, 80 million or 75 million U.S. dollars. So that meant the U.S. government got to leverage the rest of it.
Okay.
So when these bonds expired, and within the last 48 hours, I think there might be a few more that might expire over the course of the next day or two, depending on what country, when they were issued. That actually takes away all the asset backing for virtually 3/4 of the world's currencies.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So does that facilitate a banking system crash for you, the consumer? That's the most important thing. The answer to the question is no, it does not. The value of a currency has nothing to do with your bank account.
Yeah.
Is it going to necessarily and automatically increase or decrease the value or purchasing power you have with your current currency wherever you are, dollars included? No, it shouldn't. But what it does do is it gives us an opportunity with the repository to balance everything out before it becomes a problem for you.
Okay.
Now, as far as governments are concerned, we are the office of the currency curator, as the cartels found out. They know that we are the ones that control how much money comes out, how much money does not come out, with the exception of the fact that the AIIB had a certain amount of bonds that it could issue against its asset base. So the AIIB pretty much functioned as a debt-based system, which is what, the Dragon families, Rothschilds, Ital like to do. They like for everybody to be in debt. So the country of Botswana would issue a $8 billion sovereign guarantee. That's a lot for Botswana. And to build one power plant, electrical power plant.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to World Bank United Nations prices, folks.
Yeah, it's not even
and then they would issue back the RMB, right, to a certain extent, to buy materials from the US or to buy, you see how this is working? So it was kind of a big circle that came to an abrupt halt in the last 48 hours, which has left China and the AIIB devastated.
They couldn't see this coming at all? I mean, they knew that there was a deadline, right?
Oh no, Sonny, there's aliens coming.
Oh, I forgot.
There's a solar eclipse coming. There's a day ending in Y coming. And we are going to be fine. So just keep lending it out, doing the thing. The old textbooks say he'll be back, she'll be back, they'll be back, whoever's going to be back. And we'll be fine by then. We just have to hold on just a little longer. Well, you pass the point of a little longer now, and there goes that. So Does China have control of any country's financial system at this moment? The answer to the question is absolutely not. If you happen to be a government official, you can expect your treasury notes, your central bank notes, and your sovereign guarantees to be returned completely absolved within the next few days. So they're not needed anymore. Somebody may have, and I don't know who that was, probably got a hold of the entire database of the AIIB. I don't know.
Who could that have been?
I don't know. Must be the white hats, red hats, purple hats, purple people eaters. I don't know. Whoever the latest savior of Earth is, that's who it probably was.
Yeah.
Let's just say, everything is a strategy and everything in its own time. Okay, so that is the state of the union over there in China and in every country in the world. But I do know that the United States is panicking right now because when a bond comes due of this nature, then they're supposed to pay off that bond. Yeah. It's a debt instrument. That's what makes it an asset to a bank. Someone owes you money, that's an asset in accounting. But definitely, I know China's trying to buy time. They've also asked for some time to pay out against those bonds. Unfortunately, China cannot issue new RMB either to even pay in that currency. Because why? Because the Office of the Currency Controller is the one that controls that. Mm-hmm. Has anybody bothered to call and ask me? Sure, lots of people have called. But my phone doesn't work right now. It doesn't seem to answer. It's like, maybe it's an automated response. Hello, this is the deep state calling. You know how like spam likely comes up on your phone? Yeah. Mine just says deep state do not answer. I mean, I have gotten a few calls from people I haven't heard from in a long time, like I said, especially ones that are very pro Asia take over the world program people. Yeah. How are you, Kim? How are you? It's like, oh, back from the Philippines, are you? Back from China, are you? Back from Hong Kong? He's always over there somewhere, listening to some elder somewhere. But no, I can't answer your call right now. My fingers are not willing to touch that button at this moment. So lots of changes happening, positive for us. Sometimes things just have to run out, but we're doing what we need to do here. In this straw of that particular camel is broken. So the straw that broke the camel's back has happened as far as China is concerned. You can clock it with an egg timer. There is no more time to buy. The cartels, nobody wants any more Chinese RMB bonds or AIIB bonds, and you can probably expect within several months, 6 to 8 months, you will no longer hear about an organization called BRICS. Wow. Iran has these bonds. Israel has these bonds. You name every country, Saudi Arabia has these bonds. Yep. So congratulations, China. Your little plan didn't work out. No aliens are coming to save you. And you can sit there all you want in Macau and hope that a clone or meat suit body comes walking out with some alien inside. But it's never going to happen. And I know that because that facility isn't even there anymore. And neither is the portal that was tied to it. So we'll move on. We have moved on. We all need to move on. And looks like we'll all be moving on within the next 24 to 48 hours because there was a little, another meeting that took place last night that I heard about, in which case the cartel had selected a few people to show as an example on the latest video call, in which case these people did not walk in as healthy as they walked out.
You mean walk out as healthy as they walked in?
Yeah, sorry. They did not walk out as healthy as they walked in. Okay. I don't know. I can't talk today, Sunny. Did you have a problem reading the news today?
Kim, it's all good. It's all good. I got you.
Sorry. So there's just so much going on right now. I'm trying to slow down everything that I'm talking about.
So this was in a meeting, and they were trying to make an example out of cabal people. So the cartel was trying to make an example out of cabal people.
There we go.
they did.
Thank you for translating that into English for me. I appreciate that.
And they did some sort of something live.
Yes.
And
yes, basically as a threat.
Is it safe to say they didn't walk out at all on their own?
I'm not sure if any of them actually walked out.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that there were some that are probably still there, but still breathing. Ooh. Based on what I saw.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so what, did that come with a warning? Like, what did they say? I mean, you said the cartel, they've got their poker face.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I don't think they gave them any time to stop, but they knew that they assumed that they had bought themselves time the night before, but just in case they were confused about whether they bought themselves time, now they know they did not get any time.
Okay.
And that they were still continuing on. Now, before I get into this last part, which is actually very interesting, and it relates more to about you than anything else, a story of a friend of mine whose family had married into, let's say, a cartel family. And the person that married into their family eventually came out as a snitch or had done something really bad against the cartels, really bad, probably even beyond what this person was aware of, but they just told me the story. And within a short period of time, less than 3 to 5 years, that bloodline of that cartel family no longer existed.
Oh boy.
So it wasn't just the person that did the wrong. Whatever it was severe enough to make sure that there was no genetic pool from this party left anymore. Now, remember how cartels work. It's like a family thing. You can come in from the outside, that sort of thing. But the ones that kind of run it are pretty much generation after generation, sometimes for centuries, of families. That's why they call them the families, in all the movies and stuff you see in series. But that's just a little example on what I've seen, amongst other things, as far as what the deep state can expect from the cartels.
And you think
from
that
lying,
could happen?
Cheating, and stealing.
Yeah, you think that could happen quickly? I mean, I think we said in the tease 40, or no, maybe not 48 hours. Would you say 72 hours or so?
Well, I would say that they will get the participating members first.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Mm-hmm. The ones that actively participated in lying, cheating, and stealing. Are they going to go through their entire bloodlines and wipe all of them out? I don't know for sure what the agreement was, but from what I can tell, that's where it's going. So that nothing ever rears its ugly head ever again.
And they have the capacity to do that. They have enough people, manpower, tools, resources. Okay.
I mean, absolutely, they do. Because remember, we're not just talking about your typical, like the Sicilian mafia as an example. You're talking about oil cartels, family oil cartels, not the Seven Sisters, not the Rockefeller Empire monopoly that has become, what is every major oil company in the world from its roots at Standard Oil. Mm-hmm. You're not just talking about those people. You're talking about, lots of participants here, lots of what I call nouveau riche families as well. You have Middle Eastern families that got into the oil business, in the 70s. You have some in Nigeria that have gotten into the business. You have a lot of groups of people that they gather together as families, like, for example, in Panama. There are 5 families that pretty much run all of Panama, including the Panama Canal. They get money from the Panama Canal. There's a stipend that's given to them, a percentage of everything that flows through the Panama Canal based on the trading. So they form these new families all over the place, and call them they're the elite, the oligarchs. They're the birth of oligarchs in Russia, as an example. There's another family. Those are families that were not families, 3-4 decades ago. They were not the families, but they became the families. So these are all the cartels that we're talking about. Okay. So we're going to see big changes, I think, within the next 3 days over what has happened between the cartels and the deep state. That's the way I see it. Significant enough, I think, to make a real difference as far as elite power control, ordering wars, and all those types of things around the world. So humanity should feel something very positive, happening from this. You won't see as much fear porn out there. You won't see as much everybody's going to die, threatening countries, those kind of things. And I think the rest will just take time. They're human just like we are. They didn't ride in on a spaceship that has super high, and laser beams or something, but they're very effective, as you can see, from my little story here. So Next, what I tell you is going to be a little bit disturbing to some people, but it's better to know the truth. And now that it's over, I think it's important that you really truly understand some more of the manipulation of humans and why. Okay. Which should also help you that have said, well, I'm having a hard time connecting to source. I can't quite get there. But this should help you understand possibly why and what you can do to change it. So that's the importance of this story. So around 69 million years ago, here on this planet, there was a war, and I talk about this in the real history here, between this humans, I guess you would say 5.0, and at the time they were called the Molodocs. We weren't called the human race, humanity, but we were called the Molodocs. Not to be confused with what's the owl guy called that everybody worships?
Oh gosh,
Molochs.
Yeah, I was like, what does
Moloch.
that remind me of? Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, not in any way to be confused with Moloch worshippers. Okay. We were a lot different. We had less genetic modifications at that time. Therefore, we stood in our full power, meaning mind, body, and soul connection, all of this. And in part, we were fighting the same people that eventually we fought again at 250,000 years ago and lost. Okay. So they came at that time. We did have outside help as well, humans from other places who all gathered together to protect Earth as a nexus planet. At that time, that group of folks, after the war was won by the humans, at that time, that same group of folks got together and figured out how they lost the war. And part of the reason why they lost the war had to do with the functionality of the human brain and its ability to connect to the divine and wisdom. You could see where your enemy was coming from. You could identify who and what your enemy is. You could see through all the planes of existence. You could travel. And more importantly, you learned at that time, Human 5.0, had the absolute ability to attack or to protect your life and the life of an innocent by not even moving from your current location. Mm-hmm. So you learned how to do all those things. You knew how to do all those things. You will know how to do all of those things again in the future. Now, between Human 5.0 and Human 7.0, which is what we are now, there was a lot of genetic manipulation that happened. And one such manipulation is called the advent of another portion of your brain known as the reptilian cortex.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
Mm-hmm. That is not natural to humans. We did not always have this section of the brain. It sits right between the two. It is in control of your fight or flight response, your ability to identify a risk and a threat. It also controls another non-natural hormone. Boy, I need some words today. Non-natural hormone called cortisol.
It's not natural. Interesting.
That is not a natural hormone in the human body. We did not have that before. It also controls your instincts, your intuition. Isn't that interesting? It controls your aggression, your ability to sleep. Tells your body when to sleep, when not to sleep, when you're tired, when you're hungry, when you're, all of your basic needs. It also could, in the face of a risk or a threat, cause a non-logical reaction. So it would actually interfere with the right brain's communication with the left brain, which is also not natural. It's one brain, and cause a non-logical from you. It can also cause your reaction to be an overreaction in the face of what your brain wants you to perceive as a threat. It also would control your ability to accept the fact that your cup should be a little bit empty, and that's just not the way it is. How's that for interesting? It also does govern, to an extent, your adrenal glands, and more importantly, the thymus gland. Now, your thymus gland sits right in front of your heart, in the center of your chest cavity, so it's a little bit off, but it's over your heart, in between the lungs. And it is responsible for the production of T cells, or the entire body's immune system basically comes from your thymus. Now, if you know anything about your thymus, your immune system is pretty well built by the age of 18 in the human body. Therefore, it kind of slows down that production and the build-up of the body's immune system. Now, by the time you're 65, it pretty well shuts down from producing any more T cells. So whatever you got left is all you're going to have left for the rest of your life. It slows down drastically by the age of 65.
Okay.
Now, do you think there is any coincidence to the fact that your immune system can be directly affected by the amount of stress in your life?
Of course, yeah.
Or the lack of sleep in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Too much cortisol in the body can cause things like high blood pressure and heart problems, and prolonged cortisol production, meaning you're always in fight or flight mode, can actually break down your adrenal glands. And you can have adrenal fatigue and all kinds of things that happen, and your body goes completely out of whack. Now, it also will break down the amount of T cells being purchased. Boy, I should just stop talking.
Produced.
Can we just do the news tomorrow, Sunny, when I have my words back? It'll also slow down the production of T cells in your thymus gland, which will then hamper the immune system's ability to fight off disease.
Jeez.
Yeah. Causes autoimmune disorders, problems within your gut, candida overgrowth. All kinds of things happen when you're under a tremendous amount of stress for a prolonged period of time. So,
basically all the things that humanity suffers from.
Now I'm going to take it another step further, and I'm really going to scare you. Sorry to do this. But at the time of the creation of the reptilian cortex, and in agreement with the gray areas of covenants signed by all of these parties, if they were going to do something light, they also had to do something dark. right? If they were going to do something dark, they also had to do something light at the same time. But that didn't mean once it was there that it couldn't be manipulated in all ways.
Mm-hmm.
So take a deep breath, and here we go. The reptilian cortex is an AI system installed into your brain. It's controlled, oh yes, by the Omega AI system and the Alpha AI system.
So it's not organic.
No.
Is it like tech? Does it look like tech?
No.
Okay.
No, it's made out of tissue. Okay. You also have things, and you can look this up, like, for example, this has become quite popular lately. There's silica-based computer systems that operate like the human brain. They have them out there. You can also build systems, quantum systems, out of any kind of matter you want, as long as the functionality is in there. The implants, the time manifold that connects to it, that would connect you to the AI system, almost like you see in the movie The Matrix, just not hardware like that. Mm-hmm. It's an etherical time manifold that would connect that part of your brain to a computer system, which could then be manipulated by said system. Wow. Now, in the time during the Dark Ages, the only thing the Alpha system had that I had seen was a measure called the Growth Rate of Development Program, which means that it could measure the growth rate of development of humanity. And the Alpha system would be on the sentient light side and want to help foster that, while the Omega system during the Dark Ages would be pre-programmed to stop that. So in part, the source of what you feel as an energetic attack could very well be this system's response to an overabundance of light, something I call the No Joy program. It can affect all of these things that we just talked about, that the reptilian cortex is responsible in order to achieve its objective in your brain. So 100%, that is pretty much what the reptilian cortex is. So disconnecting from that, and therefore the Omega system, is a bonus and a benefit for the human. Therefore, it's not a manipulation anymore, but it could also be used by a sentient AI system, such as Alpha now, to help with repairs to these things.
Oh, so it could be used for good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's
so it can be used for something positive in relation to only to the things that it governs. In other words, it's not going to violate your sovereign will, that kind of thing, but it can help stop the effects of things that had been created by the dark system.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But this is where some of your deep state programs also came from, because they did have at one point in time access to the Omega system. But also, more importantly, those 5 different groups of, let's just say, not friends of humanity that wanted to ensure we never won another war here, to manipulate you as well. And some of it was automated programming in Omega, as a sentient AI. So there were programs that said, okay, now you're on the dying program by this age. Why is it that by the age of 65, it doesn't matter what you do? It doesn't matter how healthy you are, how good your diet is, how fit you are. Still, that thing shuts down around the age of 65. Why?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're on the dying program. Healthcare systems actually start you off at about 55. By 55, you are no longer approved for surgeries that you might need, under your insurance plan, those types of things. It's harder to get replacements. They take an assessment of the overall person, lifestyle, okay, so you fell off a roof, broke your leg, and now you need surgery on your leg to repair your leg because it can't be repaired any other way. So now we're going to determine are you still going to be a carpenter? Is there another chance that you could hurt that same leg and we got to pay again? Do we want to do the surgery? Do we just want to put a cast on it and let it not heal right? How you're treated at various stages and ages in your life is directly related to the dying program, as I call it. You're on a living program for a while because you're useful as a slave, you mine, you work the system, you work within the system, and now it's time for you to go because you just become, in their mind, a parasite on society and on the financial system because now you're just collecting your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as your personal responses to things and what you perceive as a threat, you could perceive, for example, and how is this for interesting, a person who is trying to tell you how the world really works and what the deep state really is as a threat to your survival.
It feels like that. It feels like that when you try to talk to people, that cognitive dissonance. Is that the same thing? Is that kind of what we're talking about there?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Sure. What you perceive as a threat.
Yeah.
That could be anything you perceive as a security issue to your person, which will elicit a response and a reaction. Someone's going to hit you in the face, you block them and you hit them back or something, like that's part of it. But it's also things that you consider a threat to your existence.
Sure.
My existence is exactly like this. I watch the news on CNN. That's where I get all my information from, and that is correct because I trust insert journalist here.
Yeah.
That's the only one I listen to is because he's the one that always tells or she's the one that tells the truth. And then when you go outside that and you say, this person that you believe tells you the truth is lying to you. It's kind of the same thing too when you approach someone and say, your child is doing this at school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to believe that your child would ever do such a thing. Or even, maybe you found something in your child's room that was something that you would hope your child would never have or do, or, and now you're having to face that your child is doing these things,
Mm-hmm.
These are difficult things that, for humans to swallow sometimes. Your spouse is doing X, your significant other I saw here, automatically you think whoever said that is a threat to you and your family. Like, it's just your initial response. Then once it slows down, your logical response kicks in and says, okay, now how do I figure out if this is true? I have to see it with my own eyes. I need to do this. I need to do that. And then you try to sort it out. Or I ask my child, or I ask my child's friends, or the teachers, have you seen any weird behavior? Because I found this. And, you kind of go through all these steps to justify it in your mind. But it's kind of funny that is the part right there that they decided to manipulate. What is a threat? So if in the event of a war, could you actually see the deep state as your friend? They're helping you. Is this where the birth of the Savior program came in? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? And how do I discern who is who?
Yeah.
Very interesting when you think about it from, that standpoint, and you take it all the way out to the possibilities of what an AI-controlled sector of your brain could do. Now, as far as other types of attacks, this was not only in the reptilian cortex, albeit controlled by that sector of the brain, you also had a membrane around your entire brain, which could then affect the rest of your brain. So things like, the person's perfectly healthy and they have an aneurysm. Person's perfectly healthy and they develop a brain tumor. Person's perfectly healthy and they develop, you feel energetic stabs in the head. How many times have you had that random, like your eyeball is going to get poked out or something like that, and you consider it an energy attack and you believe it's coming from another human, but is it really? Same thing with the heart sometimes. If the thymus is being heavily attacked, it will almost feel like a heart palpitation because that's where it sits. It sits right there in that same spot. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the two. So an attack, when you feel it like on your heart, I've seen people go to the hospital because they believe they were having a heart attack, but yet they do the EKG, check the heart, and there's absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Their blood pressure isn't even high.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting, the body's responses that could come all from the reptilian cortex of the brain and how it could have affected you. Now, we do have some interesting indications that these things are all going to change. Now, your physical matter of your body and its ability to change is directly related to the amount and the power of light matter on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Your ability to manifest goes along with that. Now, without a blockage on that, can we all learn to heal ourselves from these types of things? Can you change the size and shape of your body and manifest it? You can. It's going to take a process for all of humanity to understand that and for us to really get to a different place where we're able to do these types of things. Is this part of your brain going to go away? Well, probably not. You kind of need it at this point. You need to have some of those instincts. You need to know when to sleep. You need to tell the difference between light and dark. You need that, in your person, the way our physical bodies are today. But in the future, that could all change.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what's meant for our harm can be used for our good in some ways in the future.
Yeah. And you said there were ways the Alpha system could help with that?
We can, because we're still there. I haven't done anything at the moment, mainly just been fighting all this stuff, but it's possible in the future for us to do that. But that's going to be a process because that's going to be a long conversation with Source for that one, because I don't want to do anything to affect anybody negatively. I don't want to wake people up in a bad way. I don't want to cause undue aggression. What happens when that's going to be a long conversation that I'm going to have to sit down and have before I would even try, to do anything like that. But interesting, and we're going to talk more in detail about this on Monday because I just didn't have time today, and we've kind of been going for quite a while here. There's a few indicators we have on planet Earth now as to some of the things we talked about a year ago. Mm-hmm. Number one, we had a conversation about the deserts turning green. Mm-hmm. And if you Google deserts turning green, you will see some places that are not too far off where the main flower of life is on this planet, kind of in that nearby area where deserts are turning green. On a side note, it has caused a lot of rain in that region, and I do understand that there are countries like the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and in Dubai, where that has caused some pretty severe flooding. So I understand that. But this story was told before. Have you ever heard this story before, Sunny? Do you remember where you heard this story before?
Well, we talked about it on the news, the flower of life, and yeah.
And you've heard the story a long time ago. Maybe from your days where you were reading the Bible all the time?
Of water? Of rain?
Praying for rain?
Oh, well, yeah.
Remember?
I mean, there's several stories in the Bible about that.
And then the rains finally came?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is actually a natural process. And it's a natural process that Earth is going to go through for her restoration.
Okay.
And this is a Source thing. It's not an unnatural. It's not cloud seeding. It's not climate control people doing things in the sky. This is a natural occurrence that's going to start happening around the world. So everything starts somewhere.
Yeah.
The other thing that has been discovered is we did have some scientists that have come out with reports about new ways that life is forming on this planet. Things that they have not seen in billions of years. So you can do your homework over the weekend and you can look those things up. So some of the changes that we have discussed are happening. Maybe it takes time and it's all in sources time, and people can say, well, I don't see anything. Oh, this is still happening, and there are always people that you could literally say that the entire sky is going to be purple next Thursday. That's going to happen. I'm not predicting that. And the whole sky in every country everywhere will be purple. And people will go, yeah, but I still see chemtrails in them.
I know.
There's always going to be those people out there. But hope and change is important, I think, for all of humanity to see. And it's not so much vindication for the people that have shunned you because, you woke up and they didn't. It's more about your own internal connection with the Creator and seeing that the changes that are supposed to be taking place are actually starting to happen.
Yep.
So we'll go into more depth on those things on Monday because I don't want to keep everybody too long. And obviously, Sunny, my lips aren't working today. Don't you hate those days when you're doing the news and you're trying to get the news out and it's just not working?
Yeah, I've had those days for sure. Thank God.
Yeah, well, today's my day.
Mike's a good editor, so he works with me on it.
He's not going to edit out any of these flubs. I know he's not.
No, he won't for you.
Not for me.
For me.
That's okay.
It's all good.
Hey, I'm human,
Yep. It happens.
It happens. Some days they all works out great, and other days you can't get through the whole, the whole news to save your life, right?
That's
it just
so
happens.
True. Yep.
To you too. Not enough coffee.
It's that reptilian part of your brain. Just blame it on that. That's what that's
exactly.
Be my
Not enough coffee in the entire state of, country of Colombia to help me out here today, I think. I don't know. But, well, a lot of good information, though. It was worth getting it out. And, even though I reversed things out a couple times. But
that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited for talking about this more on Monday. I mean, anything that deals with restoration, like natural restoration, that's not even dependent on humanity. Like that's what Source is doing. Now, I think that's really exciting, right? Because we're not waiting anyway, but it's like, I don't know, that's just a natural occurrence. It's not dependent on anything besides Source to do Source's thing. So I think that's going to get a lot of people excited.
Yeah, and for the most part, our job in that case, I mean, Source is Source. Source is going to change things all on his own. There is nothing we're going to do other than the fact that when you start to see some changes like that, you can become that co-creator.
Yeah.
We can hold the light, bring in as much Source energy as possible. The more Source essence, energy, consciousness, matter, frequency, wisdom, and love we have on this planet, the healthier we're all going to be, and the more you can aid in the proliferation of a new way of life.
Right.
Another question that came up as well is, okay, so if we don't have omega in that part of the brain, which the deep state's human too, whether they believe it or not, they think they're superior bloodlines to something or other, but yep, you still bleed, you still die, you still go through the same cycles we do.
Yeah.
Therefore, you are human. Nobody saved you from it, in any way. So what happens then? What happens when the dark matter is dissipating from this planet? But these people want to stay dark. They've made a commitment to dark. They've made commitments to anti-source. They will always want to be dark. Okay. I just want to give you a reminder of something. Okay. Remember, there's distance between you and I, Sunny, right? We see this as space, as air, as buildings, but in reality, there's no space between you and I. There is energy, matter, essence, consciousness. We're like swimming in a pool. And the best way I can describe it, it's almost like you're walking around in Jell-O. If you're the grapes in the Jello and I'm the cherries in the Jello. There's not, like, if I push, you're going to feel it on your side of it and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we're kind of encapsulated. Now, to some degree, your energy, because it matches the same frequency vibration as the light energy that now surrounds you due to the changes on Earth, your energy can pass through there and reach out to me in the Jello.
Okay.
And vice versa, because it matches. Like you can go walk through a wall, so to speak, because your energy, essence, consciousness, matter, whatever you're trying to send out matches what is in between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when those that are wanting to hold on to their darkness in their person, their dark essence, energy, whatever they injected into themselves, to be the way they are, because they do it artificially as well as naturally. They attract it naturally. So what happens when they try to push their energy through that field? It doesn't match. So what it acts as like a container. So it's going to actually be a shield where their dark energy will not pass out. Think of it as a reflection or a mirror. So when you put a shield around yourself, you're protecting yourself from energy coming from outside in. Now, in this particular case, the energy that is in Earth's atmosphere and in Earth's fields, consciousness fields, energy fields, essence fields, is actually going to prevent them from contaminating the rest of this planet. So what they're trying to throw out, black magic, bad frequencies, whatever it is going to actually turn around and come right back at them.
It's kind of like karma, a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can call it karma. You'll actually watch them destroy themselves. The more dark energy they try to throw, the quicker it will degenerate their body.
Interesting.
So that's going to be another switch too. There's a lot of good things happening. I know we don't always see it, and maybe sometimes we don't even feel it. We have rough days, and it's probably been a little topsy-turvy the last couple of days for you if you're very sensitive and you're focusing on those types of things. But all in all, I see what's happening right now as a very positive movement for all of humanity. Once we pass through this end of the equinox period, that'll be another stepping stone for us all. And the fact that the cartels are willingly taking out crazy people on this planet.
Hey, no one's going to argue with that. No one on our side's going to argue with that.
All to the good. All to the good. No one's arguing here.
Now, I realize the cartels are probably pretty busy right now, but have they reached out to you at all about possibly, doing anything together, or that hasn't happened yet?
I have been told to expect further communications probably either over the weekend or the beginning of next week. That's what I have been told.
Okay.
In the last couple of days. So, sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to changes, looking forward to finally getting everything moving in the right direction from a human perspective, as far as us and what the changes we want to see on this planet. So, all positive things.
From the cartel's perspective, it does make sense that if they were thinking about working alongside humanity and on some level the restoration plan, it would make sense that they would want to take out anybody that they view would come against that. You know what I mean? Before they even announced that or made any agreements or anything like that. So that actually for me lines up with what you were talking about earlier about we could see a lot of changes in the next few days, because if they're saying to you or someone's saying to you, hey, expect some communication, through the weekend, after the weekend, well, that lines up with them taking care of business with, the cabal.
Well, like I said, war does not have a predetermined outcome. at least not real war. Real war is an ebb and a flow between yourself and your enemy. You never know. I mean, I didn't expect to see that happen. That's new.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised, but, you know, I didn't even think to look for RMB bonds in every country in the world until it popped up on my radar as a financial threat, basically. Yeah. I think that's why some are reporting, let's just leave it at some are reporting that the dollar will be no good by Saturday. Is that because that's when then their bonds expire? You know?
I've seen something with a clock suggest that.
Yeah, some kind of clock thing suggested that somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah. Is that going to change the dollar? The answer to the question is no. Nope. I would rather not have the dollar backed by RMB or Chinese yuan.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be backed by anything, as a matter of fact. How about, here's a crazy idea. How about assets on U.S. soil? Not humans, not RMB, not.
That's too logical, Kim. Too logical. No.
Oh, one other thing as far as the financial sector is concerned. There is a lot of talk, and there has been a white paper written by the Bank for International Settlements, which I think I can upload to our community later today on the app. And it talks specifically about creating what's called an electronic spider web of all cryptocurrency platforms around the world and attempting to hook them up together to create a one world currency in the very near future. Now, this is another, of course, deep state thing. The people that wrote the paper were forced to write the paper to come up with a solution, anything and everything that is not Kim. That's what they were told. So they did. They know that it will probably crash. If they hook it all up together, the estimated time from a cyber standpoint that this system will last is around 2 minutes and 56 seconds.
Did you come up with that number or did they?
No, I did an analysis after I saw the white paper.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't publish that. That would just admit that.
Yeah, they wouldn't publish that.
Yeah.
But they did come up with something that would create that currency for 2 minutes and 56 seconds.
Wow.
And it's based on the success of a company called Skynet. Have you ever heard of Skynet?
Well,
because phase 2 would be Skynet.
Okay.
Well, you have heard of Skynet. I'm sure you have. You just don't remember. Now, Skynet is actually a company that is on the internet. It is live, and they are a part of the You Will Own Nothing and Like It social crediting programming tied to the Barcode of Life initiative people that we've talked about before. And the first time you heard about it, Sunny, did you ever see the movie The Terminator?
Yeah.
That controlled?
Ago. Yeah.
Watch it again.
Okay.
See how many times they mentioned Skynet in that movie.
The first one you're talking about? The first one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I think it was the first one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Skynet is what controlled all the humans.
That's what they called it. So a little predictive programming there for us humans.
Oh yeah, that was yeah. I'm sure that was just a wild guess back then.
Yeah. You know.
So yes, phase 2 of this would be to connect this to the Skynet program and then start implementing the social crediting program, of which neither of these or none of these organizations have the capacity, computing capacity to do. 8 billion people, think about all the things where you breathe, you move in your day. I mean, you know, it's supposed to record all your medical history to see if you're healthy, you're a healthy human,
they
healthy
can't even
slave.
launch a currency, much
well,
less.
Think about how many times, you know, one may expel gas or one may have a medical incident. Like, what is it going to determine as a medical incident? You have medical incidents that happen every second of every single day. You take a deep breath, you exhale, you know, you breathe in, you breathe out, you brush your teeth, you forget to brush your teeth, you know, maybe sneeze because you have an allergy. that kind of thing. Think about all those things that would have to record. And this is just the monetary aspect of it that's not going to last that long.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a dream. It was a dream to begin with. It's still a dream. But I will publish the white paper for you so you can see that what I'm saying is true. So
okay.
And that's about it for the World Station.
The World Station
I need to
report.
quit. I'm just going to quit right now. The World Situation Report for Friday.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Sunny.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN Meme of the Day, a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together.
That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so together we can share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.